Tips with Toni. Tips with Toni. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Toni. Tips with Toni. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Toni. Woo.
Hello, and welcome to the Tips with Toni podcast. I'm Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. This next interview is with the amazing, inspiring Chase Chewning, podcast host of the Ever Forward podcast. Him and his brother do this in honor of his father. This story is really, a little bit heart-wrenching. I'm not going to lie. It does pull at your heartstrings a bit. Inspirational, sad, but also hopeful at the end. So it's a little lengthy, so I'm just going to get right into it. Please enjoy this interview with Chase Chewning from the Ever Forward podcast. Chase, tell everybody what Ever Forward is all about.
Ever Forward is about a lot of things. And like we were talking about on the live stream, it started off in a way to kind of like help us figure out, our lives in a way. It came from a very deep-rooted loss. And it was a way for us to kind of like just stay true to that and just, hold on to some memories and just, honor my father's memory and legacy really. But over the years, it's really grown into so many things. I think it's a really unique way that we have been able to share our belief system with others who can connect with it in some way, shape, or form to better curate their own. I think it now serves as a living, breathing reminder that you're not alone, that we all are going through some kind of ups and downs, and, it's a humanization aspect and a connection aspect, and as a way for people to kind of just latch on to something that they maybe need or want to hear at that moment. But then we're finding from the feedback and engagement and our audience that it's really serving as a springboard, as a catalyst for them to create their own belief system or to fall back on a belief system maybe they've gotten away from. And so, I would say that's definitely what it is now. But like I was saying, Ever Forward is this family saying this family belief system that we grew up on from our late father. And unfortunately, due to a terminal illness, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, more commonly known as ALS, we lost him in 2005. And through that terrible, awful, no good, very bad time, my family and all went through it in our own kind of different way. And through that grief and through that loss, we were able to kind of latch on to something. And it was staring us in the face the whole time. It's this phrase that he always said, that he always taught me, my brother, my sister, my family, just no matter what, stuff's going to happen, stuff's going to fall in your way, and you just have to learn from it. And as long as you give it 100% your all, and you can learn from failures and mistakes, then there truly is no such thing as a failure or mistake. So that was our way to kind of just get through this loss, and as a way for us to kind of just have purpose in everything that we do. And now, several years later, here we are. It's our business. It's our, like I said, belief system. It's our way of thinking and acting and living, breathing, working. So it's a very cool thing now.
Wow. Yeah. So there's a lot in there, because I think that I'm really sorry about your father, because losing your father at any point in your life is really sad, but I know like a disease like ALS is so unexpected and so rapid and so hard. Like it's just,
so cruel.
It really is. It's very, very cool. It's like kind of like when you get older, you kind of expect to, maybe not be able to walk or see, or, we lose our ability, our body, but with ALS, it just happened so fast and so rapid. So I'm really sorry about that. I'm wondering, you mentioned, did your dad have that mindset like all of your life, or is that something that really came out when he was diagnosed?
Even more so, it came out when he was diagnosed, but he definitely had it his entire life. It was a phrase that we heard growing up. He picked it up from his time in the military. Every unit that you're in, at least in the Army. I was in the Army. He was in the Army. You have like sayings, these creeds, and his first unit, their creed, their saying was ever forward. And he picked it up during his time in the service. And that was about, I think he first enlisted, it's about 4 or 5, about 4 years old. And so from literally the first time I can ever remember walking, talking, building these, conscious memories and experiences, he would say it, or I would see it, or be on his uniform. And so then growing up, it was just kind of a parenting philosophy in a way as well. And so it's one of those things, that probably your parents or someone in your life that you look up to or is guiding you, a parent, a guardian, whoever, just kind of says, hopefully passing on some kind of goodness to you, that you're not like some dirtbag teenager, or, you get your act together and, learn from your mistakes and all these things that you just, us as kids, maybe I'm speaking personally, just think, oh, well, what do you know? Or that's just, you're just trying to do your parenting thing. But then, yeah, definitely, like you said, it became even more solidified when he was sick, because now before he would say it, but now he showed it. He lived it. And not once. He had a very, very accelerated case of ALS from diagnosis to when he passed away. It was barely about 18 months. And it got significantly worse. Every time I would see him every couple months, whenever I could come home from the military, it a very, very escalated case of it. But he was always just as positive as could be. I never once heard him, my family never once heard him kind of just complain or, just live in denial or just get angry or, cry out, why God, me kind of thing. He was just, no matter what, he was like, all right, I'm accepting of this. And just with literally until my dying breath, I will just try to set an example and be the rock for my family. And he was my best friend. He was the rock, the center, the very living, breathing core of my family and our community and his business. He was a business owner when he got out of the Army. So that's where I picked up a lot of my entrepreneur traits, and for his employees and all these people in his life, no matter what, before the illness and certainly during, especially during, we really saw what it meant to live a life ever forward and to really just learn from these things in life, whether it's a failure or a success or just this horrible cruelness, whatever comes across your way, you got to just work through it. You got to find a way to work through it. And it's going to be hard and it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be sexy or glamorous a lot of the times, but there's a gift in everything there. There's a gift in every lesson, especially the hardest ones. And that was his final gift. That was his final kind of lesson for us. And it took me a long, long time to fully grasp that. I struggled with the grief process and losing him and, me being in the military and away from my family, and then being injured and then getting kicked out of the military and having to start my life all over while still processing, a lot of times rather not processing my dad's loss.
Denying it.
Yeah. I struggled for like 10, 11 years with a lot of mental health issues. And it truly wasn't until just a couple of years ago that I finally snapped out of it. And well, more importantly, I had the right people in my life to kind of help me snap out of it and really address it head on. So yeah, ever since then, it's just been, yes, he's gone. It's terrible. And we would love for him to still be here, but he has given us this purpose. I don't know what I would be doing with my life right now if I did not have these 2 words as my North Star.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you kind of you're keeping him alive by doing exactly what you're doing. You're keeping him alive and you're making all of the unfortunate stuff that he went through kind of sort of worth it, if that makes any sense. Like
giving meaning to it, at least.
Like at least making it a little better. Like you can't make certain situations better. You can just kind of make them less bad, I guess, right? Like
you can make them more digestible.
Yeah.
I guess in a way.
I can relate to that a lot, where I lost my best friend to suicide when I was 23. Oh,
I'm sorry.
And
that's rough.
She's never going to be here. It's never going to make sense. I still wish she never did it. Like you don't change anything. Right. But at the same time, a lot of what I do is helping people to recognize their worth. It starts with nutrition, but I tell people it goes a lot more beyond that. And it's like, I think it's very similar to what you're doing is like, you're seeing something as, we have battles and we have struggles, we have fears, we have all of those things, but we also have a choice to react to it in a certain way. And I love that, just those two words. And I think it's very common. We can all kind of sometimes get stressed, overwhelmed, feeling like we lack hope, but sometimes having like that mantra, like I know, like my grandfather, he would say, "This too shall pass." Like kind of, that comes to me, right? So for you, as your father, it's like ever forward. It's like simple words, but have deep meaning, help you get through those times, because in life we have those, right? And if we don't, like you said, they're going to make you stronger in the long run.
So many times in life, that's all we need. We just need a simple reminder. And whether you have, hopefully you don't have to have somebody who's taken away from you or lost or anything like that. But, you can always find a positive reminder, or you can hopefully try to find a way to turn a negative thing into a positive reminder. Just small little tethers to a belief system to anchor you in some way, shape, or form. I have Everforward tattooed on my arm. I'm wearing a long sleeve right now, but, I physically have something I can look at and touch and feel. I keep my dad's dog tags. Like I said, he was in the Army. I keep his dog tags around the rearview mirror of my car. I have, every time I log on to an interview, every time I look at, anything I do, I see Everforward, I see his name. And it's a great way to just always stay connected to that, because that was a big thing I struggled with, because anytime I would think about him or even say Everforward, it's my license plate for like 15, 17 years. I had like a negative association to it, because I was always just reminded of what was taken from me, or what I thought was taken from me, or what I thought I missed out on. And I was just staying and dwelling on the whatnots and what was missing, but rather what could be and what was given and what can now be in place of. And it truly was, like you said, it's a choice. It's a choice we all need to just decide to make, that I'm going to make this thing stand for something positive. I'm going to choose to have this thing remind me of something that I want to accomplish, or what I will never do because this person zigged when they should have zagged. And, I'm going to choose to just, I'm going to choose whatever, and insert anything you need here in your nutrition, in your weight loss, weight gain goal, and whatever goal you have, whatever you're trying to do, just optimizing this whole human experience. All it comes down to is just making the choice to take action or not take action. The choice to just have these things be positive or negative. It literally is just a switch in our head.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So you mentioned that being around the right type of people, getting support when you were struggling, it helped you get out. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So specifically, there's this one example that comes to mind that really was a big catalyst for me. This is about the time I was going through some struggles in my relationship at the time. We worked it out. We're married now. And just, like intimate relationship, personal, significant other stuff. And then I was going through a lot of career changes and geographical changes, and all of these things at the time of my life seemed to kind of just, I had like the woe is me thing, like what's going on? I'm feeling kind of a little bit out of control. But then also at the same time, that's when I grasped hold of myself and started reading more and journaling. And I found podcasts, and I just, began to kind of look outward for these things, maybe going off on a tangent. But I always just thought, because I was more this happy-go-lucky, optimistic person, that I didn't need any of that, right? That, clearly I'm happy, I'm good, I always have a positive outlook, like nothing could ever go wrong, or like I'll figure it out, right? Well, no, and like, can I cuss on here?
Yeah.
When crap hits the fan, and it will, I was ill prepared. I was not preparing myself for these things. And so when a lot of those things happened, I began to look outward. But one of the things that I was ignoring was this thing that I thought I had figured out. I thought, Everforward is like, yes, it's positive, it's cool, it's trendy. But I was suppressing so much of it. And I'll never forget this moment. I've gotten a lot better at it, but honestly, it's still very emotional for me. I was sitting down watching a movie, my wife and I, May, and I forget what it was, but there was this scene where someone died and they were on like a gurney and they pulled the sheet over them. And for me, and now I know because I've since been diagnosed with moderate PTSD from this whole experience. Like I was immediately transported back and I had this panic attack, this anxiety attack. And it was never just a memory of like my dad dying or seeing him with a sheet pulled over his head or just literally watching him take his last breath. I was transported back. I would have these out of body experiences. I was no longer just wherever I was having a memory. I was back in the hospital room. I was back at the cemetery, and it was just these out of body experiences, these things that just took over my mind and my body. And that one was one of the most significant ones I had. I started like hyperventilating, having this horrible panic attack, and was just like out of control in my own body. And then I began to recognize that I was also having those in other places, like drives to work. I would hear a song and I would like think that I was just getting emotional. I would have to pull over when in hindsight, like the same thing was happening. I was becoming unsafe behind the wheel of a car. I was having these mild to moderate like anxiety attacks and panic attacks, and recognizing that it wasn't just a memory, but it was a feeling, a very visceral sensation that transported me back to this horrible time in my life. And so right then and there, she kind of helped me realize that like you haven't sorted this stuff out. You haven't really figured this out because you may be doing a lot of positive work in other ways, but like if this thing is still triggering this type of response in you, there's something else going on there. There's something you need to work through. Mm-hmm. And so I did in a lot of ways. It was self-work. I really began to dive deeper into, all right, like, yeah, I know Everforward is this positive thing and it's something that I'm latching onto from my dad, but what does it really mean to me? Go back to like literally brain dump, journal about all these sensations and feelings and emotions and memories. I then went back and got very regular with a mental health professional. I went back to a therapist, and someone I was always touch and go with over the years. And so I just really began to kind of look inward into my mental self, my emotional self, my emotional intelligence really, and began to kind of just see what I was overlooking for such a long time. And that was probably the thing that I needed the most at the time, and it was something I was kind of ignoring for a long time. And ever since then, it's been such a relief to not have to, like kind of suppress that down. And that's another thing too. And I think a lot of people kind of make this assumption that with my brother and I, and that we are very outgoing, positive people 99% of the time. And it's just like, wow, it must be nice to like have this positive message just kind of given to you. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, no, I can promise you for every positive post or happy picture or smile or whatever you see of us, there's at least that many dark days. Yeah. And there's the struggle that we went through in a lot of ways still go through mm-hmm. because of this person that, meant so much to us and was taken is no longer with us. Yeah. And, and usually the people that are happiest, I believe, or have this thing they're trying to put out in the world is because it comes from a very dark place and they have crawled out of it, or maybe they're still crawling out of it and they're trying to put meaning to it, and they're making the time necessary to respect that work and that process. And in that work and in that process, you're going to figure a lot of stuff out, and you're going to have more smiles on your face, and you're going to find ways to make more meaning out of it. But it never really fully goes away. Right. It's just a matter of still respecting yourself in the process enough, like I said, to just keep showing up no matter what, if it's good or bad or ugly, and just still move forward through it, ever forward.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that for so many reasons. One being that I talk about the importance of mental health, and something that I don't share enough, but I'm trying to do better at, is like I go to therapy every week, and people look at me and they, I am a very happy-go-lucky person, but it wasn't, I also hit a lot. So it's like going to therapy is what allows me to continue to show up this way. If I didn't have a place to dump or like journal or something, like it would be really difficult. Right. But the fact that you're a man and saying this actually is like making me really happy, because I talk about it and I tell men, I'm like, think about therapy. You should try therapy. Like, you want to consider this, but there's this stigma. There's a stigma in general around mental health. And like I shared earlier about when I lost my best friend to suicide, was much more apparent before. I didn't realize how bad there was this like negative association between mental health, and it's not talked about a lot or enough. But especially in the male community, it's like being macho and not showing your feelings is like rewarded. But there's
I was so much in that belief system, so much trying to fall into alignment with that machismo self. And I've talked about this before, and it's always good for me to kind of go back and share it again. The reason I wound up getting separated, discharged out of the military was because I suffered a series of injuries. Therefore, I had to go through a series of surgeries and basically like bionic man from the waist down. The events that happened, the origin of those injuries, were because I was trying to put myself in harm's way. Now, I was never at the point where I was considering taking my own life, but I was in such pain and I was so distraught about what to do with my life and what can I do to support my family. I felt like they call it survivor's remorse. And I felt like I wasn't there enough for my family. I felt like my family's going to be lost now because they don't have my dad. And so multiple times I volunteered for these deployments, for these assignments, because I did not want to come back home alive. I wasn't going to take my own life, but I was like, all right, well, if I'm already a soldier, right? Well, let me go have this honorable soldier's death. And it didn't happen the first time. Another time came through. Looks more promising. I was going through like getting promoted. I was doing all these trainings, to put myself in position to be put over there in harm's way, literally go to war. Because I knew if I didn't come back, my family was going to be taken care of because they're going to get this amazing life insurance policy. I thought then that was going to be enough what they needed. And now looking back, it was the most selfish thing in the world I could have done because they would have lost their dad, their husband, and now their other son. But I was in such a dark place that I thought that's what I wanted. And so during one of those training events, God, the universe, Uncle Sam, whatever you want to call it, my dad maybe looking down on me, physically broke me so that could not happen. That completely changed my life plans. That was the thing. That was what put me in the position. I got medically kicked out of the Army. But it physically broke me when I was the most emotionally and spiritually broke at the same time. So in all senses of the word, inside and out, I was just a broken man. Yeah. And ever since then, it's been a long uphill battle since 2009 when I left the military. And it has been the greatest gift I could have ever received. And it took a long time for me to get to a point now where I can look back and look at my injuries and look at my military career, my short-lived military career, the loss of my father, and all the darkness that we went through as the ultimate greatest gift of my life. And it was very hard to figure that out. But, again, it stayed true. I had to stay true to this philosophy that if I was telling all these other people, right, if I was saying, hey, like, be positive, look for the gift, all these things, there's still this small little part of me that I was denying that. And so once I got true to that and focused on that work, that's truly where I stepped out into my greatness, I feel, and got so much clarity and was such a weight off my shoulders. But yeah, if that, all those things had not happened, I don't know if I would even still be here today.
Right. Married with a successful business owner, in you move from Virginia to California, all these amazing things that are happening in your life wouldn't have been happening if you would have gotten, either ended your life or gotten killed, God forbid, or anything, Yeah. And it's just crazy. I know that, when we're in that mindset, it's so tunnel vision, but the wrong type of tunnel vision, right? There's a difference between focus, positive tunnel vision, getting things done, but then digging yourself deeper into that hole. And it's really, really important to get that outside perspective. So whether it's going to therapy or your wife recognized, okay, this is obviously something's off, something's wrong. That's something we talked about on the live is listening to other people when they're telling you good things that you're doing about yourself, but also listening to other people when they're saying to you are you sure you want to be like dating that person? Right. Sometimes we get into relationships where, they talk down to us or whatever, and we like tolerate it. And, there's just so many things I think about. It's like people who love you really are trying to help you.
Yeah. And that's the key indicator right there, is having that support system right there that is going to, when those things come up, and hopefully they have the honesty and the willingness and the courage, and they love you enough to kind of voice their opinion, but most of the times, our ego gets in the way, or we put up these walls because it goes against what we're thinking or believing at the time. And that's not what we want to hear. Right. But if you can do the self-work necessary to kind of at least know that, at least recognize the source, like this person I love the most of my life, my mom, my brother, my best friend, whoever, my coach, my mentor, if they're bringing this stuff up, we'll recognize the source. They're not probably saying this because they want to see me hurt or fail. It's out of a loving source, even if it's not what I want to hear. And of course, this sounds easier said than done, but this is ultimately what I'm trying to get at is, if you can have that support system and have these people in your life that believe in you and want to see you succeed. And if you can show up with that just awareness, that emotional intelligence space enough to like at least think about that, it can make or break success. It can sometimes save your life, literally.
Seriously.
It takes that work though, and that foresight.
Yeah, I think, and that's important too. It's like, you have to be willing to want to change as well. Like there has to be something in you that's willing to, be open to new ideas and doing the work. Like you said, like, luckily you were given a chance to do the work because there was a point where that couldn't have happened for you, but you recognize it's like, okay, God's giving me this other chance. Like I'm going to take full advantage of it. And I'm just going to try to be like, my best self. You retrained yourself how to walk. Is that, I remember that's what you said on the last.
Yeah. I've had to learn how to walk again twice. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So the nature of my surgeries, it's, I still have really big dominant scars. Like they completely cut open the side of my quad up to the top of my glute. Like I think about 11 to 13 inch incisions, completely surgically dislocated my femur, shaved down my femur head, put it back in, cleaned up like, the joints and stuff in the damaged areas. And then I've got 2 rods in each of my femurs to keep me moving. And on top of that, I tore my hamstring, and I significantly overcorrected and twisted my L4 and L5 vertebrae. And there's just a lot of trauma.
Wow.
A lot of trauma.
Physical and mental.
Yeah.
You really got hit hard. Like really.
Yeah.
Really.
Life definitely slapped me around for a while. Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
For sure. But you're here today talking about it and helping other people. And so that's really what matters most. I always tell people, like, if you feel like you're struggling, like the story's not over yet.
Exactly.
That's it. Just keep pushing forward. Like keep trusting the process. Your story is so inspiring. I'm just letting you know, I've been trying not to cry for this entire time. The goosebumps are all over, and the tears are there. I'm being really good. I'm like, but yeah, so, we have like a couple, like maybe like 5-10 more minutes. And I want to make sure we get like I want to make sure I ask the best questions. One thing that I was thinking about, is you mentioned it earlier, and you kind of said, like, when we spoke about doing the work, like we weren't talking about eating healthy and exercising, although we know that that's important, right? We were talking about journaling and therapy and stuff like that. Do you think that eating healthy and exercising helps you come to that point? Or do you think that people go, I don't know if I'm making any sense. So just like stay with me for a little bit.
I think I'm smelling what you're stepping in.
Or do you think that people choose to eat healthy and exercise because they think it's going to fix their problems?
I believe it goes both ways.
Yeah, I think so.
And this is where I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah.
In my health coaching practice, I could maybe take the exact same approach or the same plan, right, with 2 different people. And it would be kind of presented in a way of like, hey, this is the thing you need to do in order to feel or look, or achieve this thing that you want. Or you could go the other way. Like, all right, well, what is it that you're achieving? How do you want to feel? You kind of the same plan, but just approach it with opposite sides of the coin, if I'm speaking correctly. But I mean, here's what you and I both know, right? The nutritionist, the health coach here, we know that when you eat well, move well, sleep well, you're going to think well. You're going to think mo better. Like I always say, we know that these things, help to the cellular level with so many physiological biochemical processes that just stack the condition in every way possible to help you think better, have better clarity, to help all the processes just be better, especially with like hormone balances, your sleep, your regeneration, your recovery. We know that when you align your nutrition and your physical activity / exercise, when you improve those, or even present in general for some people, we know the physiological changes are going to be there.
Right.
But also, if you can focus on start with the why first, right? If you can be like, well, why do I want to lose this weight? Or why do I want to, get shredded? Or why do I want to, try to deadlift 600 pounds? Why do I want to do all these things? If you can focus on the why, then like that, I think that is a greater starting point, because then you're always going to have, quote, the motivation that you need. It's always going to be that reminder as to, why like you're eating this and not eating that. So, I think, yes, eating well, moving more will ultimately help people get to the point where they're just going to have the ability to kind of make these better decisions. Or if you can do the self work and kind of just decide to make the decisions now that I know that these things are going to help me. I've done the self work necessary. I've kind of helped figure out the why. I've, looked inward, or I've worked with a coach or a nutritionist or whatever. And then therefore kind of the nutrition and physical activity comes secondary. I honestly don't think it really matters. I think that just as long as you're moving the needle in some way, shape, or form, you'll come to the same ultimate realization.
Yeah.
If you start thinking like, I don't like the way that I eat, I feel like I want to eat better, I feel like I should be more active, then you'll eventually get there. Like you'll realize and you'll literally feel the difference. My wife and I talk about this all the time. When we go like 3-4 days at most and we don't work out, or we're traveling, whatever, or we just feel like we're eating like crap, like,
yeah, you feel
it. And then we're like, wait a minute, like people who eat like this all the time, people who don't work out, they don't know.
Right.
Like, they don't know how you can feel. They don't know the difference.
Totally.
And it was so many things, like so many common chronic illnesses and ailments and discomforts and arthritis and, chronic illnesses and diabetes and prediabetes and osteoarthritis and all of these things. If you just move more and focus on sleep and eat better, I'm not saying you have to like be some crazy CrossFit keto person, whatever, but you don't know what you don't know. Totally. And so I think either way, you can reach that same end result. Did I answer your question?
150%. Okay. You answered it perfectly. And it actually kind of drives home this point that I keep coming back to, that I think I'm going to do a TED Talk about. So it's in the beginning.
Awesome.
But it's like, if you want to be your best self, nutrition and exercise have to be implemented. You can keep pretending that you can. I don't know why it's an option. Like it still bothers me. I don't understand why it's like, oh, you're a healthy eater. Oh, you're an exercise nut. Like, no, we're human.
Yeah. Look at all the top performers in the world. What do they do? What do they do most? They honor themselves first. They 100%. Usually they're waking up early. They're getting a workout in. They're having their journaling time, their them time, the self-care. And in that self-care, it's fitness and nutrition. We have other coaches who handle more like the specific fitness and nutrition coaching for people. But anyone that I work with one-on-one, just because this is where I've grown and kind of evolved into my coaching style, where I show the best, I think, is really just focusing on that personal development, that self-optimization, personal, professional development. And fitness and nutrition are part of that. Mm-hmm. Anytime maybe we're hitting a blockade, or maybe a lack of accountability or lack of adherence, or, just not really moving the needle, and maybe the thing we're here to work on the most, 9 times out of 10, we'll go back to the basics. All right. Talk to me about your water. Talk to me about your eating habits. Talk to me about your movement habits. And I am no stranger to this as well. This is one of the things that I myself have been dropping the ball on, flat out. My problem is, like, I'm very aware, and I will make sure I'm getting at least activity in, bare minimum 3 days a week, usually 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. My nutrition, my problem is I don't eat enough. I get so busy with life, and I make up these excuses, and I tell myself that I need to finish this project, or I need to grind, hustle. I need to do all these things to provide for myself and my family, and just move the needle. And lo and behold, it's 7:00 at night, and my wife's like, "Hey, let's make dinner." I'm like, "Oh crap! Like I've been eating it today." And then when I look back and I try to recollect, I still kind of go touch and go food log. I think using like MyFitnessPal or our own tracker, our own health tracker app is a great resource. It's just a great, kind of pulse check. And my biggest dilemma is I'm just not eating enough. I'm consistently under eating calories. And then I question like, I feel like I'm a little fluffy right now, or I'm not like getting the same output in my workouts. And as of yesterday, I actually started working with a friend, a local trainer, and he's completely doing all my programming. I'm handing over all my nutrition to him because I know, I mean, probably a little bias here, the coach, but I know what accountability can do.
100%. We both, we wouldn't be coaching if we didn't believe in coaching.
Yeah. And I keep mentors in my life. I have friendships in my life that serve as mentors. I pay other mentors. I have all these people in various ways and forms in my life to add that accountability because it's just flat out accountability works. 100%. It just works. Argue with me all you want, but accountability works. But also it's with people who they are way better, even just a little bit better in an area of my life that I'm trying to make better.
Yes.
And so again, like I was saying before, why not have these people in your life that, are just one step or all the steps further down the path that you were trying to go down or a similar path so that they can help you out.
And they help you go ever forward.
Exactly. Yeah. Yesterday, he helped me go ever forward for about 1 million lunges. Did this insane burnout in my legs. I cannot move.
Oh my gosh.
Great workout, Ben, man. You killed me.
Yeah, it's so much harder. That's why I always tell people, I say, if you feel like quitting, don't, because remember how hard it was to get started? You never want to have to start over again. It's the worst. Being out of shape, it's so difficult. It's so much easier when you're it really is.
And that's the biggest part too, especially, like people like us, we do all the things, right? We have this strong foundation and these fancy letters after our name. And so maybe I'm speaking personally, like, I know how to do all these things, so it's not going to happen to me, or I know how to eat well, or I know how to work out.
No.
But then, man, like when you miss a few days, or also I'll give myself a little bit of slack here. I recently just had a little melanoma scare, and I had this big chunk taken out of my back. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And 5-6 inches cut out of my subscapular, 5 millimeters deep, and I couldn't work out. They told me 4 or 5 weeks, and even before that biopsy, I had a pre-biopsy of these 2 other spots. And so for the past almost 2 months, my physical activity level has significantly dropped. I always try to get up, move, walk, but my strength training, my exercise has drastically dropped. And yesterday when I was down there with my trainer, we're picking up the deadlift bar, and I was like, wow, I used to be able to do this a lot easier, or I can tell. I mean, it will come back. I know strength.
It will, muscle memory and all of that. Yeah, but still.
But checking that ego is so hard, even for people like you and me who, quote unquote, know it, right?
True. Absolutely. Wow. Well, honestly, Chase, I could talk to you for hours. I have a call, so I have to end it. Otherwise, I totally wouldn't. I'd split it into 2 podcasts. But thank you so, so much for being brave, sharing your story, being inspiring, everything that you do outside of here. Really, really, you're really an awesome, awesome dude. I feel like this episode we got a little deep and got a little teary, but when people who know you really are that happy person, you make people laugh, so it's a nice balance. And it's, I think what we need to learn in life is that there's ups, there's lows, there's happy times, there's sad times.
Absolutely. If you haven't had any of the lows or downs, it's just because you haven't had them yet. Not to be a Debbie Downer, but it's not. I
mean, if you're true, also, are you really pushing, striving, living, and going
are you getting out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Because if you are, it gets a little scary.
Terrifying. Yeah.
So how do people find you?
Yeah. So like I was saying on our live, I'm always hanging out the most on Instagram. My handle is @Chase_Chewning, CHEWNING. But also, if you just Google or if you hop on IG and just search Ever Forward, you'll find Ever Forward Apparel, which my brother runs. You'll find Ever Forward Coach, Ever Forward Radio, and even an up and coming. Well, we started it last year, Ever Forward Foundation. I'm trying to get into a nonprofit, but I'm trying to just do a charity organization.
Totally.
So kind of just. And that's the beauty of this modern world and the entrepreneurial space is, you can literally create anything you want. It's just a matter of kind of, putting purpose to paper, finding a purpose for your passion. But yeah, Google Everforward, on Instagram, Everforward everything. Hit me up on IG, slide into my DMs. Let's connect. Let's talk.
I'll put it in the show notes too.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Chase, thank you so much. How inspiring was that? Chase Chewning really, really touched me. My heart was very emotional, but in a good way. I think like anything in life, we're going to face some tough times. It's all about how we interpret it and how we can use it to move ever forward. If you guys are liking these episodes, please let me know. I want to make sure that I'm providing you with value. Tell me what you like. Email me, tipswithtoni@gmail.com. Do you prefer the quick tips? Do you like the interview style? Who do you want me to interview? Is there anything else that you need? Please let me know. As always, you can follow me on Instagram at tips_with_Toni. Join my healthy lifestyle support group on Facebook. The link in the bio is in the bio for that. And if you're interested in working with me one-on-one, you know where you can find me as well, www.tipswithtoni.com/coaching. All right, guys, I hope you're having a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.